Hi, I'm Michelangelo Badio, and it is great to be back. I'm Joey. That's Robert. He's ready to rock. I have been on tour pretty much all year, except for a couple of weeks here and there, even going to California with Sawtooth in between tours. But this has been just a fantastic year so far. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about what it's like being on tour. And on the last tour, it was called Electric Guitar Lands. I was able, I didn't break the record. My record is 21 shows in a row. We could have done 22, but I had one day off in between after 20. But there was one stretch out of the 27 shows of the first tour where I did 20 shows in 20 days in 10 different countries. Now, I just got back from Istanbul, Turkey last night, so I am suffering. I've flown millions of miles in my life. You still get jet lag. There's just no way around it. You can be the healthiest person in the world. When you're up there, 35,000 feet, let's see, 6 miles above sea level, the sun's rays, bombard you with more ultraviolet rays. There's just more, you're up miles above the ground. Humans weren't meant to live that high up, at least not that I know of. And so it just kind of gets you. Anyway, I want to say hello to a few people. Let's see. Hey, James. And who else is online? I see Roxana, Chester, who else? Alexis, Denny, Lester, Matthew, let's see, who else? Well, anyway, we have, hey, Nick, how are you? It's good to see you online here. Matt, anyway, so we have a bunch of people. And I wanted to take a guitar today. It is Sawtooth guitars, Sawtooth instruments, because they sell more than guitars, drums, basses, etc. It is their 10-year anniversary. And last year, we had just an absolutely incredible year with guitar sales. And this year, I've got a couple new models coming out, but they still are just business is really good. And, you've got people like me promoting and Vinny Appice, but, all of us believe in the equipment and we believe in the product. And they have another company called Chromacast, which is just, if you order something online from different online retailers and or different online sites, whether it's guitar straps, picks, music stands, guitar stands, you name it, Chromacast is one of the leading companies on planet Earth. And that is a Sawtooth, that is part of the Sawtooth brand. And so in Sawtooth world, I should say. But anyway, Sawtooth has their 10-year anniversary. I'm going to be back at the factory in California for 2 weeks, starting July 15th. So we're going to do another thing where I'll be signing guitars and you'll be able to see me sign your name online. So it's pretty awesome. Now, I just want to play a little bit, then I'm going to talk to you about touring, and I'll answer as many questions as I can. I've got a monitor right here so I can see what's coming in. But I'm playing one of the first two signature guitars that we came up with Sawtooth. It's called the ST, and then they go M24. And this is that matted flat black finish, and I love it, a maple neck, black finish. The Burning Vibes Band. Hello, how are you guys? Somebody wrote, oh, James, the ST24 would be awesome with a Floyd Rose. It has Floyd Roses. There's a whole bunch of models with Floyd Roses on it. Other people like Wilkinson's or non-locking tremolos. We have those, and we have a fixed bridge like this. Anyway, yeah, somebody wrote the price isn't so expensive. Hello from Greece. No, this is one of the least expensive signature guitars, which is why I wanted to play it. Clean sound too. Hey, Denny. Okay, Denny asked a good question. What do I have planned next? Another tour, album, shred collab? I recently did a collaboration with it's called Sinful Betty's Band, and Danny Trejo, the famous actor, is in the video, and it's me on guitar. They had James Lomenzo, Megadeth's bass player, on bass, and Brian Tishy, who played with Billy Idol, Whitesnake. I think he's with the Dead Daisies now, but anyway, he's a fantastic drummer. So we were the core section, and then Danny being one of the actors. The song is called Forgotten. And so that's a collab I recently did. So anyway, Denny, to answer your question, Manowar starts touring again in late August. And so that's going to go through September. And then we are working on a new record. We're doing song at a time. Joey, the bassist of Manowar, the brains, the heart of the operation, is a truly brilliant guy. And some of the new material we're doing, it's just incredible. For example, the first song I did with them is Immortal. And so I'm already hearing, all the Manowar tribute bands do it. And, it's the one. And it's become part of the set. When you're a tribute band, you do the song, and that's a song with me on it. So I was the guitar player on everything, and so we're releasing songs at a time, and in the meantime playing. So to answer your question, Denny, I'm touring, I'm recording, and as far as the shred collabs, not so much of that, but I can tell you I have another video coming out with Rob Scallon, and that's going to be coming out sometime this summer. So I'm doing a lot of high-profile projects, and like this one, Forgotten, Sinful Betty's Band with Danny Trejo as the actor. I mean, the guy's amazing. If you don't know the name, go to Sinful Betty's Band online on YouTube and check it out. You'll know him right away. He's a character actor. He was in From Dusk Till Dawn, that Quentin Tarantino movie. He's been in a million movies. And, he always plays the bad guy. He's got this sinister look to him, but he's a great actor, and he's a really cool dude. Now, somebody wrote, have I checked out Sophie Tremolo? I have not. I'm pretty partial to Floyd's and Floyd Roses. And that's it. Somebody asked if I jam with Gus G backstage. Yeah, Gus and we became really good friends. We knew each other before, and, we always got along good. But when you spend a month on the road with somebody and see them every day, you're in close proximity, you travel with them, you get to know somebody really well. Plus, I got to watch him play every day as he did me. And so, we jam backstage, and we're just good friends, really good friends. And, I think he's a great guitarist, a really nice guy. He's had a great career. And, the thing that I like about him a lot is that, for example, myself, we have something very much in common. He was an Ozzy. Okay, but if you notice, he doesn't rely on Ozzy for his career. He's got his own band. He went on his own. I love Nitro to death. Jim Gillette and I are like family. We're best friends. We talk virtually every day, and we're motivational speakers for ourselves because we did things in Nitro that had never been done before. And here I do a double guitar, a quad guitar. Jim shatters glass with his voice, sings higher than anybody, playing faster than anybody had played up until that time. We were just really pushing the boundaries. And as much as I love Nitro and I revere, I'm really proud of the past. when I went on my solo career, I didn't rely on nitro. I didn't use nitro all the time. And some other musicians, they have a band that they might have been in 30 years ago, or even 35 years ago, or 10 years ago, and they use that constantly for their career currently. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not criticizing it. It's just something that I personally didn't do. I wanted to forge ahead of my own, and Gus did the same thing, and I really respect him for it. And it doesn't diminish anything with nitro. I mean, nitro, we have a song in a new Netflix movie. So, and like I said, the things that I did with Jim, I'm really proud of. And especially the album OFR. I mean, it's just, I listened to it today. It still rips my face off. And I remember Jim saying one time, he goes, in an interview, he goes, if you don't like OFR, he goes, I'm going to make you like it. And if you saw my post on Jim, he could definitely do that. Now, let's see. Somebody wrote, eat the diet of type 1 diabetic. Let's see. Does Yngwie Malmsteen have a big head trip? I don't know Yngwie that well, but I've met him before. He's always been real nice to me. See, sometimes, people want to blow things up. They want to, maybe a writer can't play like Yngwie and is envious of him and tries to criticize him. That happens all the time. And so, where people got off that he's some jerk, I don't know. But I can tell you one thing I know. He knows who Yngwie Malmsteen is, and his music portrays the fact that he knows who he is. He knows what he wants to get across musically. I don't see anything wrong with that. And so, but I really like Yngwie's music a lot. Now, let me explain one thing about touring. I have had extensive experiences touring in my life. I started in the band Nitro in '89, and we did 2 3-month legs. So we toured for 6 months, averaging at least 20 to 25 shows a month. So just there alone, I got a lot of practice in. Before that, I was in a band called Holland on Atlantic Records. We didn't tour like Nitro, but we played a lot of shows. I have played thousands and thousands of shows in my life. This last tour that I did was the first real tour I was on since COVID. And it was interesting to me because there were 4 guitar players, 2 people, the bass player and the drummer, who are both amazing musicians and great people. They played with each guitar player. So it was really quick set change. Then at the end, we had one of the sponsors, Emiliano, from MMI in Italy. He jammed with us a lot, or we would have like a guitar player that was part of the contest that was involved in that last tour. But let me tell you this, when you're on the road as much as I'm on the road, it's really easy, A, not to eat well, B, not to sleep well. You're in different hotels, and it's when you can get injured. And somebody asked if I'm happy in Manowar. No, I'm ecstatic in Manowar. I think Manowar's amazing. I mean, you just don't know the feeling of seeing, for example, our last show in Istanbul was sold out. 17,000 people came to see us. And this is not a festival with 80 different bands. There was one band, no opener, Manowar. And we were able to draw that kind of crowd. And I would love to say it's me, but in reality, it's Joey, the bass player, and Eric is a marvelous singer. He's a fantastic frontman. And their discography, just every song is just, I can't get the songs out of my head. And so when people ask if I'm happy, I'm ecstatic to be in that band. And I love playing the music. There's something just like, for example, the song Fighting the World. I love that song. And when I see everybody in the audience singing it, and Joey is a real stickler on groove. And this is something that goes back. He actually was with Black Sabbath at one time, not playing in the band, but he worked for them. That was one of his first jobs when he was, real young and getting into music. And so I completely understand about the groove, because the average person doesn't know why something that doesn't play an instrument, they don't know why something doesn't sound right. Just like if you hear a singer and you don't like them, you don't really, the average person's not going to analyze it, but you don't like it. Or just like a beat that you hear that's just not right. But when it's right, everybody moves. They're like, yes, 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 yes. And so Manowar has that kind of beat, and we work on it. This is, because anybody can go on stage, well, not anybody, but you can go on stage and just rip and do all that crazy stuff. But how do you play rhythm guitar? And see, when I was in the band Holland, Tom Werman, our producer, huge producer, said, yeah, Michael, you're a great lead guitarist. He goes, but you're a great rhythm guitarist. If you listen to Nitro, the rhythm is really present on there, even. Or Machine Gun Eddie. I mean, those rhythms are out there. I love Nitro music. When we played it live, even the song, we had a song called Double. It's just great. It's cool. Now, so Denny, is there any chance Manowar will tour the U.S.? I can't really divulge it, Denny, but we want to do it, but I know this. We're getting a lot of shows, and it's just pretty awesome. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about too is, like I said, with touring and being around other players and the extensive touring experience that I've had. I have never been injured, and I've said this 1,000 times in my life. I just played 27 shows in 1 month, then flew to Germany, did multiple rehearsals with Manowar, flew to Istanbul, did a massive show, nothing. And watched Joey play bass. He's incredible. He just flies on bass. Well, my fingers are flying for a reason. And this is one of the things that it's easy to criticize, it's easy to say this and that, but it's a lot harder to actually do a performance consistently over and over and over again. Because, how many times have you read where like there's a lot of girls in music right now playing bass? A million bands have female musicians in them, and I'm not. But how many times have you read different guys, different girls have back problems or have neck problems from headbanging, or just have tendonitis or maybe trigger thumb? Thank God I never drop picks when I play. But I have to admit, I'm severely jet lagged today. It was a long, long flight. And you don't ever get used to flying. I don't care who you are. I have millions of miles. Jet lag is real. That's just the way it is. It's real. I don't care if you fly every day of your life, you're going to get jet lag. It's just, you cannot be that high above the planet with the sun's ultraviolet rays, the air pressure outside. Even though they try to make it better inside the cabin, it's still like 1 mile to 2 miles above sea level. So the equivalent would be Denver or Mexico City. And it's just, when you're in that kind of environment for a prolonged period of time, it wears on your body. Now, so you have that to deal with. So I just finished 20 shows, 20 days in 10 different countries, surrounded by other shows. And we flew to a bunch of the shows. So how did I do this? And how come I didn't get injured on this? Now, I'm older. I can't help it. I can't help my age. I was born when I was born. But there are things that you can do when you're older, and younger people should look at this and say, look at this guy, Michelangelo Badio. He's been able to tour and play at a high level his entire life. So that should give you some inspiration to know that you can do this too. That I'm not unique in the entire planet. I might have my own style and things like that, and crazy ideas on guitars. I like guitars, but I can do it, and so can you. Now, what I did is a very simple thing. During COVID, I wasn't able to work out at the gym like I normally do, so I was out of touring shape. And with the MAB band in LA, when we played the Viper Room and we were rehearsing, I remember for the first time in my life, now I've been putting a double guitar around my neck for about 40 years. Okay, so when you put about 6 kilos, 15 pounds around your neck every night, 200 days a year for about 15 minutes, see how you feel. And so I've never even had a neck problem because I take care of myself. You can't get good sleep all the time. So what did I do? I call it rock and roll training. I can sleep anywhere. I can sit in a car. If I have to, 10 minutes later, I'm like, I'm dreaming of the lost arpeggio. It's there. I see it. I can grasp it. And then I wake up. Where was it? But I can sleep anywhere. I can sleep on planes, trains, automobiles. It doesn't matter. I could fall asleep right now, and then Joey can do the show. Listen, I'm the star of the show because Michael's tired and he's sleeping. So I can sleep anywhere. That was one of the things that I learned how to do. But one of the most important things, I write signs around my own house. Be careful. This sounds stupid. Freak accidents happen. I have a pretty big scar, a V-shaped scar on my hand right here I was doing my over-under, and I went like this. I had my hand up. A light fell down from the lighting truss, hit my hand, and just tore a V shape into my hand while I was playing. Blood was everywhere. It looked like a Slayer concert, dude. And so what happened? I finished the show, of course, and people thought this was insane. You can't avoid accidents like that. Unfortunately, stuff happens. I've had carpeting move on stage when I was on stairs, when I was walking upstairs to go to a show. I slipped because the carpeting was loose, and I slammed my shin against a metal step, and it was bleeding like crazy, but it was underneath the clothes that are black. My stage clothes are always black. And so I didn't even really know how bad it was. I still have a scar. So those type of things you can only bounce back from. It's like solution mode. If something happens like that, unless it's going to really make it so if you finish the show or play, you're going to get hurt even worse, I play the show. I mean, the option, and I'll give you a great example. Manowar was on stage in Istanbul, and we have that massive eagle, and all of a sudden, we were like, we were playing one of the big songs and then moving into Battle Hymn, and all of a sudden it started to rain. And I could feel the rain, and we didn't have a tarp over the stage. And the rain came down. Now, I was wireless, so I didn't have to worry about being cabled up, and like plugged in directly to an amp. So I wasn't really worried about getting electrocuted, and I don't sing in the band, only Eric. But when it started raining and it started pouring rain, it was towards the end of the concert, did we quit? No. We played it, and it was magical. The crowd was like, they, like battle him down. I mean, it's a kind of that really intense shuffle style metal beat, and everybody was soaked. I was completely soaked. My guitar was soaked. Everything was wet, and we didn't quit. We didn't stop the show, and the people loved it. It was almost like this magical moment where everybody is in the trenches like, this is metal! And it was awesome. Those things you cannot, how do you prevent that stuff? How do you prevent the rain? And so that we can't change. But I'll tell you what I do. When I'm on the road, especially catering is really good. So there's a lot of food around, and then you stay in nice hotels and you can order from the restaurants. So I try to do one thing. I try to limit the amount of carbs that I have because, if you're eating bread all the time, and I love pasta, and God, when we were in Italy, Francesco, the bassist, was a really good cook. So was Roberto, the drummer. And man, we had some pasta to die for. Al dente, the perfect texture, perfect sauce. I mean, it was really awesome. And, but, things like that. But I try to limit the carbs. And then, Rowan Robertson, a really fantastic guitar player that played with Dio, he was great too. And we became real close friends. He's a vegan. So he had a little bit of a tough time, only in the fact that not every place catered to, some places he doesn't eat cheese. So pizza was out of the question. But, you find ways. So you just watch your diet a little more. But I'll tell you one thing. The way I practice, I start slow. And I can't stress that enough. Because if you don't play... What you want to do is practice slow to start with. Slow, methodical, precise. And my exercises on my Metal Method programs are perfect. I use exactly what I tell you to try. And I don't preach about what style. I'm purely imparting to you what techniques there are available to you and how to play them. That is it. I am an impartial, I am not a jury, I'm not a judge, I'm not an executioner. All I do is say, as a teacher, these are the techniques. Use whatever one you want to make the kind of music you want. I am not trying to tell you what type of music to play. I'm telling you how to use your techniques to be able to play whatever you want. And, it's, so when I warm up and, like having Gus in the same room or watching Rowan or Andrea Martingelli, he's the other guitarist of the four. He's a great player, really good rhythm player. And he has a very unique style, and he loves to use a wah and that kind of in-between wah sound where it's like kind of mid-rangey, kind of high range, but it's a real cool tone for him. Now, I don't use a wah that much, but again, it's to each their own. There's nothing about using a wah that I think is bad. It's great. But I practice slow. Then I start speeding up, and I start speeding up. But here's something extremely important. If you are having a problem, for example, what I do is I keep my arms very close to the guitar because this is something that not a lot, somebody wrote guitars way too loud. Are you insane? Guitars too loud? Why are you at my page? I'm in Manowar, the loudest band in the world. Guitars can never be too loud. Never! Somebody says they're too loud, the old saying, if it's too loud, you're too old. If you're not old chronologically, you think old. So either way, now I'm goofing around. But when I practice, I start. So I start with the main exercises that I showed on Speed Kills. But here's something very important. And we used to make jokes about it when we were on tour, when I was talking to Gus and Rowan and Andrea. You don't want to play your best stuff backstage. If you over warm up, if you go too far, you blown, like I said in my first Alex video, you blown your wad. And so what happens is that you play your best stuff before you get on stage. You over-rehearse. You get to the point. What is really warming up about? It's like a triad. Your mind, your fretboard hand, your picking hand. They want to be in sync, and they want to be able to execute everything that you want to play. And so if you do that, you don't need to overdo that, because when you play every day on tour, the chops, the playing gets better and better. You get less and less. You get less and less of a need to practice and warm up. So at the beginning of the tour, it starts. Somebody meant the guitar was was louder than the mic. Adam, can you maybe adjust that a little bit? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, I thought you meant guitars are too loud. They can never be too loud. It's impossible. Okay. Yeah, someone wrote slow equals fast, Greg did. It's true. When you play slow, it forces your mind to think about it. My analogy is a horse. A horse can gallop, run fast, and a horse can walk. Trotting is that in-between speed where it's controlled, but yet it's pretty fast. That takes discipline. And the discipline to play slow is the difference between you being able to play great and you being able to not play great. Because if you can't control it slow, there's no way you can control what you play fast. So I start off slow, and what does it do? It calibrates my mind and my fingers. And I go through the same exercise all the time. Fingers 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4. Then I play all four at the same time. Then I do. Now somebody asked a really good question. How do you get around hand swelling, stiffness due to weather changes? I live with weather changes. When you travel, I was in 13 countries in the last 6.5 weeks, all with a little bit of different weather. You can't let that bother you. If you have hand swelling, sometimes, you have better hair days, some days than other, but you get some days are sunny, some days are rainy. That has never, ever, ever affected me. Because, one, I don't let it affect me. I don't think about it. What I think about is this, the triad, the mind, the fretboard hand, and the picking hand being in sync. I don't really care about all those external things. I call sometimes when you overthink things paralysis through analysis. And like a lot of times, one of the things that makes my lessons so good is I cut through what's not necessary. See, because people get bogged down over things that aren't important. And when you're playing an instrument, a lot of has been said over the years, well, Michael, oh, you play from the elbow. Oh, no, you play from the wrist. Well, what is it? It's a little of both. And you know what? That's not, if you're playing like that and you're strumming like this, you're going to have some problems. You want to use what I called economy of motion way back in the day. You try to think lazy, move as little as possible. Find a way to play that maximizes efficiency. So when I'm playing outside of the... my hands are very close to the fretboard. And so when I play, my picking hand uses a little bit of my wrist, a little bit of my elbow. But what I do is this. I keep my elbows close to my body. If you ever watched when I levitate the double guitar, I use my elbows rested against like my rib cage to reinforce this. See, a lot of times people play with their arms outstretched, and there's nothing wrong with that if it doesn't hurt you. Okay, but see, then you add your rotary, I think they're called rotary cuffs here. You add your shoulders into the equation. So now when you pick, you're using your wrist, your elbow, and your shoulder. You have three things to potentially screw up. And so what I do, I keep it close. What does it do? It takes my shoulder out of the equation. And so now, it's easy to talk about this stuff, but I live it, I do it, and I play it. And I'll give you an example. Somebody said Eddie Van Halen's fast wrist play. It's very fast. I agree with you. It's super fast. And if it works for you, see, that's the beauty of playing guitar. But if something hurts you, if something is not feeling right, do a workaround. Try to adjust yourself. Be your own mechanic. You're a race car. You need a mechanic sometimes. I have a lot of top pros coming to me and want me just to watch them, to critique their playing. So if I see anything that could potentially hinder them later in life, or just if they're having problems with something, and I'm not going to divulge names, but this is something that's kind of like I don't want to say a talent, but it's a gift. I can watch people for 25 seconds, 20 seconds, and really analyze what they're doing and see strengths and weaknesses right away. And, you know, Steve Vai said it best. You concentrate on your strengths. Don't worry about the weaknesses. But I agree with that philosophically, okay? Because, you know, what he's saying is you work on what you're good at. I get that. But if you can work on something that's deficient, that you're not good at, like me, I'm left-handed. I couldn't pick at all. It took 2 years when I was a teenager to learn alternate picking. I practiced and I practiced relentlessly to get it. Once I got it down, because if you work on things and get better at what you aren't so good at, the things you're good at have a tendency to move up the list too, and move up. And it's but I do agree philosophically with Steve, because you want to work on what you're best at. If you're great at tapping, then work at tapping. If you like the sound of tapping, do it. If you want to learn alternate picking, you like the sound, and that's something, then you work on that. But I also, even though I don't tap all the time, I'm left-handed, so this was not natural for me. Gus G's left-handed, Vinnie Moore's left-handed. There are a million guitar players that are left-handed that play right-handed. Not one that I know of would be considered like the premier tapper. Gus is great at tapping, Vinny's great at tapping. I'm really good at it, but it's not my focus. And it's because this is our dominant hand, which is why I came up with all this stuff. But you need to ask yourself the questions. If something's hurting, find a way for it not to hurt. I use my arms closer to my body because I find when you move your arm here, you're putting a lot of pressure on your shoulder. That's not necessary. All you have to do is move your arm in. Your technique is still perfect. Everything's fine, and you're putting less pressure on your arm. You're limiting the amount of ways that you can get hurt. Let's see. I play how I feel it works for me the best way. I personally use my wrist weight to go through the string. That's Edward? Exactly. You work on and you play. That's the beauty of guitar. There's a few things, I talk about flicking your thumb, but let me talk about one thing that I just saw recently from a younger guitarist. There are a million people teaching guitar right now, and I love that because there's nothing more noble to me than to pass on information, being a teacher. As people know, I'm probably the most unbiased teacher that you could possibly imagine. I'm not here to tell you anything about who to like, what style you should play in. I'm here specifically and solely to give you the techniques so you can make a decision. Do you play with alternate picking on this riff? Do you use economy picking? Should you sweep it? Should it be legato? See, that's, to me, is teaching. It's not trying to tell you, well, I think this guitar player sucks, but this guitar player is really good, so you should listen to him. That's bias. I'm not biased. I don't care. I do care because I like things and I don't like things, but I'm not here to tell you my personal preferences. I'm here to show you how to play. And so I saw something recently with a younger guitar player saying, well, yes, the old school way of playing arpeggios is to try and get each note separated and clean. But, there's a newer technique where you let the notes ring. Of course you can do that technique. We knew about that when you learned arpeggios. I watch this and I go, what arrogance, what stupidity. I thought to myself, this is the wrong way to approach this because there's two problems. One, you're criticizing something that works. How ridiculous is that? Well, Eddie Van Halen's approach to tapping was very old school compared to today. Really? Maybe he didn't use all four fingers, but what he did is he made sounds on that guitar and he did things that are so revolutionary. But to play an arpeggio or go like, who cares? That's not old school or new school. There's nothing new about going. But it's a way to differentiate oneself from another person. That I get, because but this is why speed kills, and here's what I'm alluding to. This is why speed kills is so good, because I don't talk about that. I don't criticize, well, that was done in the 50s. I say, here's the technique. What reason would anybody have to want to go like this? You want to hear every note, separation. If you want everything blended together, then you can do that. There's nothing wrong with this. But it's not some revolutionary new thing. Teach, learn the proper way to play an arpeggio. You make the determination. You make the determination whether you want it to sound like this or it's not up for me to decide. That's up for you. I'm here to show you the techniques. And this is why you can overcome. Somebody wrote, yeah, dude, guitar is all about struggles and being able to overcome them. But it's not, and Edward, it's not just guitar. This is life. A friend of mine calls it solution mode. Get into solution mode, because once you figure out the solution, you can move on, because problems are going to happen. Life isn't like, oh yes, we're going to go through life and just everything's going to rock. I want my cappuccino very frothy. Well, you don't always get it frothy. And so I remember seeing that in New York, it looked very wealthy woman. Oh yes, I'd like a cappuccino very frothy. Then they delivered it. It's not frothy enough. I'm like, shut up with your froth. I'll give you froth right here. And so, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to always be frothy. So you just have to put more milk in it or send it back. But give yourself a solution. I'm just trying to give you solutions based on a lifetime of doing what I'm talking about. And that's the one thing that I always thought too. If you're going to go to a personal trainer, they better look pretty good. I mean, if you're going to take lessons from someone, you should ask yourself, there are a lot of great players. There are a lot of great teachers. There are teachers that are players and vice versa. And I love anybody who feels the calling to help someone else. I mean, what other cause can be more noble than that? But I think if you learn anything from this talk today, one is that you have it within you to find ways to limit yourself from getting hurt. And, I am jet lagged to the max. It was a really tough travel day yesterday. It's 11 hours to get from Istanbul to Chicago. And then added with the plane being late, there was turbulence. It's just the Wi-Fi didn't work on the aircraft. So I didn't know what to do. I couldn't use my phone. And, but, in all seriousness, you're sitting at an airport for 4 or 5 hours because the flight's delayed. You had to get to the airport. That's another hour. You had to get up earlier to get ready and get all your stuff packed. And, it's a lot of stress. But I figured how could I tell you about, endurance and all this stuff if I can't do it myself? And so I haven't even been at my home 12 hours yet, and I'm doing a live stream. And it doesn't make me better or cooler, as I've said in the past, but I really wanted to talk about this because it's fresh in my mind. But touring and doing something over and over and over, you get repetitive motion injuries because you're doing similar things to the same thing every day. And all I'm telling you is that there's ways around it. If you're playing guitar and any part of your arm, wrist, hand hurts, find a solution to that. Make it stop or minimize it. When you get older, things are going to happen to your body. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So just know this, that if you're watching this and you're 20 or 30 or even 40, you have a long time, but your time will come when there's going to be a day you wake up, you're like, oh my God, what happened? I was young. In my mind, I'm young. And so, but your body doesn't want to respond. Well, see, I did little workarounds to minimize that. That's why I still play like I'm young, because I limit the amount of motion. We're not talking about this or the double. Those are my live tricks, but even and live things. But when I play, it's very calculated. It's very nuanced. It's very economical. And I learned over the years to keep my arms closer, to take my arm out of the equation. So I'm not using, see, if you've got your arm up like this, you are now using your wrist, your elbow, and your arm. Bringing it down, it's virtually no arm. So your arm's not making these wide movements that can eventually and possibly hurt you. I'm not saying eventually, but so I hope this helps. And I can't say enough about your support here. We hit 500,000 followers here on Facebook recently, and this page, believe it or not, well, my other personal page was hacked twice, and on Facebook. So, but there's no excuses other than find a way. My excuse to getting things done is I find a way to get it done. I'm not a big believer in what people say when they can't do something. I don't really care about 50 reasons why people say no. I only care about the one reason why it's yes, in music and business and related matters like that. But speed kills will help you. If you go to metalmethod.com or learn-to-shred.com, which is my URL, the exercises that I show then are every bit as relevant today as they were when I wrote them. And I didn't say I invented everything. That's not what I've ever said. I just tried to teach it in a way so it's understandable to you and it focuses specifically on the technique. Anyway, I just want to say that I know this is kind of serious tonight because just going through the kind of tour that I've been on, and then I had a Manowar tour for 2 months before this one, it has been a lot. And I'm on the road again in another 10 days. So, but I really know that if you think about what you're doing on guitar, if there's you have a problem, Speed Kills shows every kind of technique you'll possibly need. Get Speed Kills. Get the other DVDs. You can download them. Look at those exercises. Watch how I play. And remember, you have the ability to adjust your own body. So if something's not working for you, ask yourself, is it the guitar pick? Is it maybe I'm using too much elbow? Are my arms too far away from my body? You can do a few things to help yourself. Instead of watching your fretboard hand when you're practicing, how about watching your picking hand? How many people go like this? I do, and it's served me well. Again, I just came off massive touring this year. My fingers feel great. I practice what I preach, and I'm sincerely trying to help you. Sawtooth Guitars Rule. I'm going to be at Sawtooth signing guitars. We'll do another live stream next week with a lot more guitar playing. And I just want to say this, thanks to each and every one of you. I'm Michelangelo Badio.